Tonight on Sip and Chat with T. Lynn, we are talking all about authentic communication. This is definitely an episode you don't want to miss. But, baby, what do? Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to this channel because somebody tonight needs to hear all about this topic. And the only one that can let them know about it is who? You. Come on in. It's time for Sip and Chat with T. Lynn. Welcome to another exciting episode of Sip and Chat with T. Lynn. I am so excited tonight to have one of my good, I'm going to say colleagues and one of my favorite people joining me tonight. We're sipping and chatting all about authentic communication. And I'm excited to have join with me tonight none other than speaker, author, and coach, Miss Ella Kushnir. Welcome, Ella.
Hello. It's nice to be here chatting with you again, Tilin.
Yes, I know, right? We get to chat twice in 1 week. What is that?
Yes,
Yes,
yeah,
awesomeness,
that's so
right?
exciting. Yeah.
Yeah, so we are certainly sipping and chatting tonight. I have my green tea on deck, and what are you sipping on?
Me too. I've got lemongrass, lime, and ginger tea.
Ooh, that sounds like a
So
fantastic tea to wake you up in the morning. Yes, I said wake you up in the morning because it's nighttime where I am, but it's midday where she is. So, how have you been doing? How has your week been so far?
I've been doing okay. The week's been going good. Oh, that's the second interview that we're having and chatting here with you. So I really enjoy that time to being of helping talking with you, and hopefully some of that will lend to someone who needs it most. And and that's the main thing. That's what we're here for, is helping
to
others,
to
helping
help it
others thrive.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly, to help others. So, I have a question for you. I know a little bit about you, but do you mind telling our viewers a little bit more about who Ella Kushner is?
Okay. Well, I don't know where to start. Is there anything specific you want to talk? You want me to talk about,
Sure.
or?
So, you're an author and a speaker and a coach. So, what is your specialty in coaching?
Okay, well, my specialty in coaching, I specialize in empowering people through communication, and um, my uniqueness would be, I'd say, is to I usually bring about trust in people, and helping people to on that trust development journey, trust themselves,
Yes.
trust, developing that external trust, internal trust. It's so very important, and helping people monetize their expertise, and so they can evolve as conscious leaders.
Absolutely. One thing that I love that you said is trust. Like, you do have to learn to trust yourself. And sometimes it's challenging to do so depending on the circumstance and the situation. So it's really interesting and great to hear that you are working with people on not only trusting others, because that's a big topic. We all know about
Yeah.
not being trusting of other people, but that whole being able to trust yourself, that's a whole nother ball of wax that sometimes doesn't get addressed the way that it needs to. So I'm glad that it's
Uh,
definitely something you
yeah.
specialize in.
And you know what I realized through my journey, through my own personal experience, and working with others, knowing others, speaking with a lot of people, that actually the trust starts from within. So
Yes.
if people don't trust, or if you don't trust someone, or the same goes with other people, it means there is something on some level they don't trust themselves, and that's where we
Yeah.
need to start looking into and helping them clear it all out to see what's stopping them from trusting, because that's a big thing behind it, is they obviously have something has happened, and
Mm-hmm.
they either lost trust in themselves because whatever happened is now sabotaging whoever they are, and that's actually affecting, now they think they don't trust someone else, but the actual fact
Yes.
is something that they maybe they've done it and they didn't know any better. Maybe whatever happened there, maybe there is another person that went around, but it doesn't matter what actually happened. Is it's coming back and learning to trust yourself, because that's where it all starts. It starts from within, and if you don't, as I said, if you don't trust someone else, it means there is something happened that needs
Right.
to be. You need to reconnect with
Address.
yourself again. You need to address it. You need to clear it all out. Maybe you need, the big thing is people cannot forgive if they've done something. It's so difficult for them to forgive themselves, and because they are
Ah.
being hard on themselves, they keep on rolling. It's going around in vicious cycle,
Yep.
and
Mm-hmm.
and that they, because they coming from that space and forgiveness, they notice that in the other people or in the world as well. So so
Yeah.
that's quite a big inner journey.
It is. And look how we travel. So the whole thing we're talking about is authentic communication and leadership, and look at all the pillars that add up to that when you're dealing with not just communication, but being able to trust, and then how it ties into forgiveness. And so I would like for you to explore that a little bit more, since we then opened the topic.
Yeah, sure.
How do
Well,
you think trust affects communication?
oh, that's a big time. And that's like within
Yeah.
relationship. I mean, we've got relationship everywhere. It's not just our intimate relationship. I mean, I come and meet you. I just say a couple of words with you. We already have communication. We already have
Right.
relationship building up. So it's like
Right.
we have relationship with lots of people. We have the relationship with the world. We have the relationship with money. And
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately, that's what I feel. It's all streams from you trusting yourself. Because if you don't trust yourself, if you start doubting. When you start doubting, you're worried that whatever you're gonna say, how people are going to respond or react to that,
Mm-hmm.
and you
Yep.
want obviously a certain way, so a certain response from other people. So what starts happening is you're starting to be nice to everyone, and by being
Mm-hmm.
nice, you're stepping over who you really are, and you're not being able to communicate openly and genuinely and authentically. And when that happens, people actually sense that. People sense when you're not being authentic, when you're not being honest, when you're not being real. People thinking that they can play around it somehow, but it's impossible. But people
But you
sense it.
can't.
But
And I
and
think
you
the
also lie
biggest
to
thing people,
yourself. At the end of the
yeah,
day, it affects your relationships with people because you're not being real. And how long can you step on those eggshells and trying to be someone that you're not? It
that you're
can't last
not.
forever.
Yes. No.
Yeah,
And you know what's great about what you said, and what I want to point out as well. Communication is not just words. Like when you said people can sense when you're not being authentic in communication, absolutely, because it's not just what you're saying out, excuse me, what you're saying out your mouth. It's also your mannerism and your nonverbal communication that points out whether what you're saying is true, is truly authentic or not. So it's more than just what you say out your mouth that gives clues as to whether you're being authentic in your communication.
exactly. Words are only 7% of our communication, unfortunately. So that's why we have to actually use the words carefully as well, because words have energy and very powerful as well. And it's only 7%
Yeah.
of our communication. The rest, 93%, is in our tonality, in our body language, in our different senses. Because yeah, it's like body language. You could stand there and you can hold being tense in yourself and not being able to communicate. Another person would feel that, and what does it do? It creates wall and builds the bigger and bigger
Yep.
wall. So
Mm-hmm.
so instead of being able to express to someone else how you want to, or what you expect, well, you don't have to sort of, you can be diplomatic, and this is what I believe in, having the being able to say to a person um, things in a diplomatic way, even if they disagree. And what's the meaning of communication is is in the actual result it brings. So if
Right.
you're able to disagree and continue the communication, continue talking, that's the best sign of your communication going well. So yeah, so
Yes.
that's it's coming back to being authentic in your communication, being real. And what I believe is like being real is your number one asset, because
Yeah.
if like
I
in
say that all the
business, in
time.
leadership, it is the most important thing, being real. Because even with business, even with money, you're trying to do something and you not really have a good relationship with money is a big thing, like especially for women, not having this good relationship with money, because in a way we there's a lot of stigma going on that spiritual people cannot talk about money, and that's completely different topic altogether.
Right.
But it's
Right.
it's relationship, it's trust, it's connection with the money. And it's actually that connection with the how you connect with the money, it's how it comes back to your self-worth and how you value yourself,
Mm.
whether you accept yourself. So
I'm like,
it's
that's like a whole nother topic for us to talk about. That's a whole nother topic.
yeah.
Your self-worth being governed by your relationship with money. That's interesting. That's interesting. We might come back and get that. But
Mm.
before we get any further down the road, one of the things I love to talk about, because I feel like it is such a help to our viewers and those that are watching, is that understanding that usually there is some type of catalyst. Most often it's an adversity or something that you've gone through that leads you to the path of finding your authentic self or finding your wholeness. And what I would like for you to share with our viewers tonight is a little bit about your journey that
Mm.
led you to even look at communication as something, like your aha moment, as in, this is what I need to be talking to people about. Like, this is what we need to be focusing on, is how we communicate with each other, how we're being authentic in our communication, and then how that authenticity in communication led to being authentic leaders and into being authentic in business. So can you tell us a little bit about what led you along your journey to this path of authenticity in leadership, business, and communication?
Yeah, sure. I would love to. I don't know if we have enough time for that, but I'll try to be short, because my journey is very long, very interesting, and a lot of ups and downs. And I mean,
Well, I'll
really,
say,
really,
give us the highlight reel then. Give us the
yeah.
highlight reel
Okay, well,
of it
you
all.
know, since my childhood, since I was 3, actually, I was a rescue in my family, because I liked peace and quiet and happy environment. So I was the one that was rescuing, and I've learned that that's the way to have a proper relationship, is to rescue situations, which I've in the last few years I've been really working hard on that, to actually shed this belief, because that's not it's not attracting the right things so much. And
Mm-hmm.
but it led me on a big journey with that, being a rescuer. So I'm originally was born in the former USSR, and we came um, we came out to Australia when I was 13. Um, so my parents never been in the business or anything like that. So in that area, I didn't have any influence. So when I got married and we had our first child at the age of 23, we started our business. virtually from zero. And in 3 years of its operation, the business was turning $1.5 million a year. So that was based on obviously the way I've set up the financial setup, and with the communication, with communicating with other people. And I found that the communication and being authentic self is so very important to getting results, especially in the area of dealing with money, where a lot of people cash flow, a lot of people fall short in the business, fall down, or you can't continue. The business sort of ends in sometimes disaster. So even though the business was growing beautifully, everything was going beautiful in my outside world, and I had 3 kids, and we had 3 kids, and at home it wasn't the same. We didn't have that communication that required.
Right. So y'all were great as business partners, but at home as partners, it wasn't quite.
Yes, exactly. And at home, it was completely different. I mean, we lived the life a lot of people would probably desire, but and it looked like ideal couple, ideal family, but inside there was a lot of things that's going on, and communication wasn't really that good. Obviously, the distance that I start feeling, and maybe not much interest, not much doing things together. So it's affected my family life a great deal. And so after we actually divorced, I've start looking into why some people are successful and why other people are not. So in business, I had this, because I didn't have influence from anyone. My family were not in a business. His family were not in business. So it was a clean and clear. Whatever I did,
yes.
I didn't have this impact or from anyone that would advise me on anything from the family, or have any way impacted or affected my thinking in that area. But obviously, family is how you brought up, how you've been conditioned as little, and obviously whatever happened in the childhood affected the way I communicated, the way I was, and I was a rescuer. So I was trying to keep things
together
and happy, but in the process was losing myself. To the point where I wanted to study psychology at the later stage, and I got everything and signed up and registered, and I knew when the books came into my place that I will be laughed at, and exactly what happened. And then I sort of, that's right, I can't be myself. I can't do things that I love, and it's not even that I'm not supported, but that communication is completely,
it's not there.
Is not there. The communication that you're supposed to have for the relationship to grow. So if it doesn't grow, then it's obviously with anything, with any nature, when things don't grow, they die. So so after that, I went on a long journey, and bringing up my 3 kids, doing a lot of study, working full time, and consistently observing. I was like studying so much in different areas, like starting with interior designer to feng shui practitioner, and everything, an NLP trainer, a timeline therapy trainer, coaching trainer, you name it. And I've studied with some of the best people out there. And then I came to the point where I've gone through a lot of turmoil in my personal life as well, in my family, and with my kids as well, because a lot of, and some of it still continues. And it's just, you have to learn to how to work through the whole everything and keep on going, because otherwise you just lose yourself and get stuck. So yes, I had a long journey then, and then all of a sudden, I always had desire to write a book, but I thought I'll probably do it later on in life. Then opportunity came up for me, and I thought, okay, why not take the opportunity and write a book? So I have approached some of the influential people around the globe on the topic of communication, because that's obviously where it's all started from, is
Right,
being
right. All
authentic
started.
in your communication.
Mm-hmm.
And there's so much problems that it created and along the line, and how it's affected me, how it affected my kids, obviously, because it's
And
kids.
eventually your business, because you had a booming business, and even though business communication was great, because personal communication wasn't great, it affected that too. So
Oh, definitely.
absolutely.
I had to
Hmm.
step out of the business because obviously it was impossible to
Right.
stay there together. Yeah.
Exactly.
So I have interviewed. I really was very nervous to do interviews, to start approaching people, but I did that anyway. And I've interviewed people throughout, went through over my being nervous, interviewed people, and I put a book together which called Secrets to Communicate and Empower: How to Become an Authentic Leader People Value, Trust, and Respect. So that
Yeah.
sort of becomes a journey. And then I've got my Facebook group called Conscious Leaders Hub, which is also based on that this is important part, is being true to yourself, is and being then is when you can communicate authentically with other people as well. Because if you're not true to yourself, that's where in a way a lot of imposter syndrome comes in.
Comes. Yeah.
People are There's a lot of imposter syndrome out there, and it's
Right.
because people are so disconnected, so disaligned with themselves. They have this incongruency inside of them, which is one part says one thing, the other part says something else, and consistently there's some sort of disagreement,
Conflict. It's,
a
yeah,
conflict
within that.
is brewing inside. A lot of the
Right.
time, even in very successful people, if you take CEOs and executives on a high level, uh, they are suffering the most, I'd say, because they are feeling so isolated from the world, because they're so isolated from themselves. They've been going and going and going after achieving this high status that they forgot who they actually are. They forgot who their wife is, or husband is,
I,
because
I was
they.
getting ready to say I'm so glad you went there, because I was going to ask you about that, in how it if how that is now affecting, because you and I have had conversations about that before, about how there are a lot of people who are in leadership that are in basically miserable, because they feel like they're not able to be authentic, and they're not able, because they're not able to be themselves, they're not able to effectively communicate either, and how that still affects their business. So I'm glad you went there, and I'm looking forward to
Mm,
continuing that part. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, it's what happens also is they are going so hard to achieve this status, to go to rise up in leadership, in corporate, in business, um, and they actually, by disconnecting from themselves, they also I just slipped my mind what I wanted to say. Um, they are going after the label, and
Got
it's
you.
not the label that makes a person a leader. It's being a
No.
person, human person, authentic person, being real genuine and kind with other people. And it doesn't mean that you have to do everything what other people say. Yeah, no, by leadership, you have to come from that space of sometimes detached leadership, sometimes from the place of love as a leader, and sometimes of a place of a challenge, because that's how people grow, is in the place
Right.
between love and challenging, support,
Right.
support and challenge. That's when they actually grow. And it's
Right.
our duty to, as leaders, as part of the community, as being conscious entrepreneurs, is to help others to rise. It means that accepting people as they are. But first, to do that, to even know how to do that, need to start with accepting themselves of where they are, what they've gone through. Because if they don't accept someone else, if they don't know how to love them who they are, how will they know how to love and accept
Someone else.
and support someone else? because the
Yeah.
best way
And I
is be like, you have to be that yourself, to be, and that will
right.
empower someone else to be themselves as well, you know.
Absolutely. And one of the things that I always I'm always talking about is how you have to find your authentic path, because I think sometimes when we talk about, even in leadership, there are people, like you said, there are people who have the title that aren't really leaders. They have the title, but they're not really leaders, and they're not good leaders because they've been given a title. They might have worked to a certain point, but that doesn't mean that they are actually good leaders. And then you have some who are not in leadership positions who are great leaders, right? But I always say that we have to find the authentic path, the thing that we are meant to do. I feel like everyone, me personally, I feel like everyone has a purpose. We all play a role in this great big world. And it's a matter of finding that thing, which for me, I always say, if you operate in your strengths, they will lead you to the thing that you should be doing in most cases, right? But when you get into the right lane, you're able to flourish, and I feel be more authentic in your roles and in your businesses when you're in what you're supposed to be doing. A lot of times people, well, let me not say a lot of times, many times, there are people who are chasing the money or
Mm.
chasing the status, and they're getting into positions that aren't necessarily the thing that's for them. And they're not happy because they chased something to get somewhere that
Mm.
really wasn't their path, rather than finding the thing that was meant for them. And I've had that happen to me, where there's a lot of, I've had several different types of careers. I've worked in IT. I even worked in administrative support at some time or the other. I worked in retail. And the thing is, I was good in pretty much all of the jobs that I've ever had. But that's because of how I am. If I'm in it, I'm going to put my best foot forward to do my best, right?
Mhm.
And be my best in that position. But I also had a lot of unhappiness with it because it wasn't what I was purposed to do. It was what I was doing to make ends meet, but it wasn't necessarily what I should be doing, or the thing that was going to bring my contribution, right? And
Right,
so I
right.
feel like sometimes we are scared to take risks. Even with what I'm doing now, I love doing this. I love bringing guests on and talking to different people about their authentic past. I love all of my shows. Those of you that follow me know I have 3 of them. But I love all different paths, all different ways of what I'm doing to contribute back to the world. But it took courage to walk away from an IT job, which most people would be like, are you crazy? IT is the thing, that's where the money is, and there's so much opportunity and growth. But I wasn't happy. I wasn't
Yeah.
happy because that wasn't the thing for me. It's what I did, but it wasn't the thing that really brought me joy and helped me to have an impact. So I feel
Mm.
like sometimes some people are unhappy because they're in the wrong position. They haven't found that authentic lane, or they haven't found their purpose in that lane, and they're unhappy because they chased someone else's dream instead of going after what was for them. That's just my
Yeah.
2 cents.
Yeah, but I totally agree with what you just said. I totally agree, because a lot of people do. They go after the labels, they go after the money, and this is not something that makes them happy. I've got nothing against and actually support earning money, but it's you need to be doing what you like to do, And
Yeah.
like I've
Yeah, I
worked in.
definitely think it should be a progression. It should be a progression. You start one place, but you progressively work to get to where you
Yeah.
should be, that thing that you should be doing and that you're
Yeah.
purposed to do.
It's what you just said. It brings me back to the point, which is very dear to my heart as well, is about our education. we've got school education, which is gone, putting people in the boxes in the curriculum instead of developing them and allowing them to develop. I completely didn't plan on going onto that topic today.
No, but
because you've
that's
touched
on
that,
point.
coming back to the purpose, they are growing up to be followers, and that's what's happening. I mean, instead of being leaders, instead of actually knowing who they are, what they want, what their interest is,
Right.
the person who is completely not academic, but he might be good in arts, he might be good in writing or doing something else, it's not accepted. Unfortunately, it's not accepted, and because then they feel that they're not doing right. And it's
Right.
it's probably 6-7 years ago, maybe even more. I have assisted and helped in one of the events that called Step Up event. That was for teenagers, and I had worked with a group in there because it was a big event. So I had a group about 10 kids. It's teenagers,
Right.
who are in high school. And there was one Aboriginal boy who is about age 14, because there's a couple of kids from private schools, and you know how kids are from private schools are, and they know everything, and they feel they up themselves and so on and so on. But that's okay, and they're good academically, and maybe in on some level into very high intellectual ability they have. And we were working on we're supposed to work on a project at one moment. The event was for 3 days, and there was like a lot of things that was happening and a lot of problems that the teenagers have. So it was like emotional as well. But then we had a project to work on, and so we needed to design that project. And this boy is sitting there, Aboriginal boy, who is about 14, and he is not in any way wants to participate. So I can see the other ones there talking about among themselves what they're gonna write, what they're gonna draw, a project of developing theme park. So they are sort of communicating, and he's sort of, and I said, why don't you join in? Why don't you? And he said, I don't know anything about it. I said, so I had to start drawing out of him. And this is something that I love doing, is illuminate people's talents,
Yes.
illuminate possibilities, and trying to help and illuminate the positive change within them, as well as outside what they can achieve. So I'm talking to this boy and trying to find out what does he like, because he didn't want to talk. Be next to all those people, he was completely closed in and just didn't want to be part of anything. So I had to draw him out, and by the end of our conversation, I found out he loves to draw. And I said to him, you know what? Because they're designing it and they're putting steps in together, and what else needs to be done. How about you sit down and you start drawing those areas that they want to design?
To do.
Yeah, because they design in different areas of a theme park. So if you're good in drawing, you start drawing those pictures in there. And this boy has opened up, and he sat there doing what he loves, So he was doing this work. And that's what, coming back to our school education, mostly, maybe there are some, obviously there are some schools that are allowing, I know there are some schools that are allowing that person to develop in their best, as who they are, develop their potentials. But
I totally agree. Yeah, I agree with you. I say it all the time, because I try to do that with my own kids. I try to work with them, finding the areas that they like, and not only that they like, but that they're great at, and then nurture those to help them be confident in the things that they're great at, like helping to build their strength, build them up in the areas that they are strong in. And I'm noticing my son, speaking of artists, because I was able to do that, I'm starting to see that my son is a fantastic artist.
Awesome.
But I nurture that. And so I talked to him about, what is it that you want to do with this, as you continue to grow, and Where do you want to see yourself at? Let's look at different areas, just nurturing it. But I totally agree with you that in the grand scheme of things, we should be nurturing our children in the things that they are strong in and that they have strengths in, to help build them up. Because for all we know, like you said, he's an artist, and as you nurture that, he'll grow up to be confident in that ability, instead of trying to fit into the box of, oh, you have to go work an office job, or oh, you have to go do this, or you have to take an IT job because that's the greatest thing that's happening. It's allowing them to be strong and to shine in the areas that they are strong in. I totally agree that that's something we need to be doing with our children. But I looked at the time and I'm like, we have had such a great conversation.
Yeah.
Time has just flown by, but I could not let this this chat with you in tonight without first asking you, before we go, what one nugget of wisdom would you like to leave with our viewers tonight?
One negative, golden nugget of wisdom is always to believe in themselves, always to trust in who they are. I think that's the most important thing, is believing in themselves, because there's so many people out there that can put you down, but you need to know who you are and believe in yourself. So that's the most important thing, because everything else streams from there.
Awesome. I love it. Believe in yourself. I totally agree with that. And I tell people quite often, sometimes you have, not only do you have to believe in yourself, but you have to be comfortable with encouraging and affirming yourself, because there will be times in your journey when others may not believe in you. But if you believe in yourself, it'll give you what you need to keep pressing forward, even when others don't believe in you the same.
Yeah. And one thing I want to
thank you.
finish. One thing I want to finish with is doesn't matter what happened in anyone's life in the past. Doesn't matter how they behave. Doesn't matter, because they did the best they could in that situation, in those circumstances. You just learn to accept yourself as you are, where you are, who you are. Learn from whatever happened, and as soon as you start accepting you are who you are, and maybe in a way, just I think accepting is far above the forgiving. Accepting yourself, then you can go forward very quickly. So that's very important. Doesn't matter what happened to anyone. It doesn't matter where we were. It's where we are right now and where we are going. That's most important. If that little nugget will help anyone, that's good.
I like that.
I really appreciate you having me here on the show, and sipping a tea. We didn't even have a chance to do that. Yes. Thank you.
Absolutely. You're so very welcome. And thank you for that second nugget. She gave us two, y'all. So that second nugget, I love it. Doesn't matter what you've been through. Learn from it. Embrace where you are. Forgive yourself and move forward. I love it. Thank you so much, Ella. Make sure you guys go check her out. Uh-oh. You okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Make sure you go over and check her out at Kushnir.com. Check out her book, Secrets of Communication. We certainly appreciate you for joining us tonight. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. Make sure that you like, love, and share this episode with someone you know that could very well use this information. Thank you so much for joining us, and I will see you guys next week, which is another great episode you don't want to miss. I'll be joined by Diksha Dagra. So make sure you check us out next week on Sip and Chat. Until then, you all be safe and be well. Have a great night.
Bye-bye.